Joining us today is the man who holds the title of most requested guest on this podcast.
Specifically, Aaron Steed.
Aaron Steed
is a good one.
He's a bit of a local legend whose influence is woven into the fabric of the San Luis Obispo community.
A moving company started by student athletes is looking to hire more workers. Meathead Movers, one of the state's largest independent moving companies.
As the CEO of Meathead Movers, he transformed a high school side hustle into a multi-million-dollar moving business that stood the test of time for over 30 years now.
My name's Aaron. I'm the CEO of Meathead Movers. We're the hardest working moving company there is, period. We're not your typical moving company. We're very unique in the fact that we hire strong, clean-cut student athletes who are working their way through college.
Today, we dig into his origin story with everything from side questing as an MMA fighter.
It's Aaron, the CEO of Steed.
To the high-stakes battles that nearly cost him everything.
Meathead Movers was sued by the EEOC, claiming the locally owned storage and moving company failed to recruit and hire applicants over 40 into moving, packing, and customer service positions.
It's always been, can you do the job or not? We don't care what you look like, how old you are. It's all about, can you work up to the Meathead job standard?
We explore the hard-earned life lessons found in those low moments and the unwavering commitment to giving back that defines his legacy.
One company is making it easier for victimized women to pack up that part of their life and move on for free.
I hope that you see or hear something during this conversation that leaves you inspired, like it did for me. And I'm honored to share this conversation with my good friend and mentor, Aaron Steed. All right, Aaron Steed,
yes,
welcome.
Sir. Thank you.
So Aaron, can you I feel like a lot of people who, if they're watching this, they probably know a little bit about you, who you are. Give me the 30-second version of how you describe yourself.
Okay. Born and raised San Luis Obispo, and wrestled high school, a little bit in college, and then I started a moving company. Brief stint with MMA. Divorced, married, and got a 4.5-year-old son. And I run Meathead Movers. I train, compete, and instruct in Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm very busy, work very hard.
Yeah. I think everybody can tell.
Yeah.
So there's so many things I want to dig into, but can we start with, I guess, without just going in chronological order of your childhood, what are the kind of like key moments that you feel like growing up that maybe molded you into the person that you are today?
I remember my dad having a lot of financial problems and struggles.
Yeah.
And that created a lot of stress for me. It was something that I observed, something that I felt deeply, and it was an overwhelming presence, within our household. And it later on turned into a huge motivating factor, for me. Growing up in San Luis Obispo, it's a pretty affluent area. A lot of my friends, had families that did really well, had nice clothes, went on vacations, all those sort of things. We didn't. And so that was interesting. My parents got divorced when I was 5. That was a big deal. My parents fought over custody for a long time. My dad ended up getting the custody. He remarried. Then they got divorced again when I was 13. Then he ended up with someone else who he eventually married. But I was, long out of the house, and lived briefly in Los Osos, which was totally different compared to San Luis. But I'd say when I was pretty lost until I hit freshman year in high school. Prior to that was, insecure, kind of scrawny. I had lots of acne when I was adolescent. I didn't really have anything that I belonged to. There was nothing that I felt like I could claim as my own. I didn't have any particular interest. There was nothing I was really good at. I felt like I was just kind of existing. And then when I found wrestling, all that changed, even though it was really, really hard. And I got my butt kicked repeatedly my freshman year. But then, I just kept showing up and I fell in love with it. And I immediately knew that this was something that was going to forever be a part of my life, something I was going to sink into, and something that I was willing to, fully commit and go all in on.
Yeah. Yeah, you and I have a very similar experience there.
Okay.
What actually brought you into the wrestling room for the first time?
So wrestling runs in my family. There was no junior high programs or anything like that. So, my dad made little comments here and there, and my dad had some articles and some things that he had done, that he was proud of. Um, and, and that was basically it, and I really wanted to be good at basketball.
Yeah.
And I tried out for the team at Laguna Junior High a couple times and I just, didn't make it. But when I got into wrestling, even though I wasn't a natural at it or anything, I knew that this was something that eventually it would pay off. I could control it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. When I was in junior high, I also did basketball and wanted to be on the team and try it out and didn't make it.
There you go.
And then I actually, when I got to high school, actually it might have been going into high school, but I was gonna try out for the soccer team.
Okay.
And a buddy of mine was like, "Don't do that. Come try out for wrestling instead." And I actually left the tryouts for soccer and came down to wrestling, tried out for that instead, and then just completely changed everything about my high school experience. Which I feel like you probably know. It's it just takes over.
It does.
Everything.
Yeah, you got to go all in. You can't half-ass it. You have to fully commit, or else it's just going to be a terrible experience.
Exactly. I know, and it's so crazy because I feel like there's so many funny things about this too. You said on another podcast that you had a paper route growing up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I also was a part of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of the only jobs that I could do that was didn't interfere with my schedule.
Right. Yeah.
And so I actually was part of I had just gotten my license too, and I was the guy who had to go drive an hour to go get the papers from the printing press, wait for them to be done.
Wow.
Bring them back, then roll them up with a buddy of mine and go deliver them. And they never finished on time. It was between 12 and 6 a.m. I'd be sitting there waiting for them.
Dang.
And then I'd get up and go train in the morning before school. And
Yeah.
it was so brutal, man.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like I don't know. How did you end up doing the paper route thing?
I just needed money, and I think I was in seventh or eighth grade or something of that nature. And my dad suggested I check it out, and I did, and I did the whole San Francisco Country Club loop on my rollerblades.
Nice.
Yep.
That's cool.
And it was funny, in hindsight, I never really thought about it, but think about the amount of labor code violations and underpaying and minors and yeah, pretty funny.
Yeah, they had me on a contract basis, and I think they paid me a flat $300 a month.
Yeah.
And by the end of everything that we had done, it was so far below minimum wage that it was crazy.
Right.
So yeah, that's wild, man.
Yeah.
When you were in high school, you were doing wrestling, and then your brother was doing wrestling with you too, or?
Yeah, he was more of a football player, but he did wrestle a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. And then how did that kind of shape up into? I mean, you must have spent a lot of time on that, and then somehow fell into this moving business starting. Walk me through the progression.
Yeah. So my friend James McConaughey, his girlfriend Megan Souther at the time, needed some help moving. Her parents did.
Yeah.
So, us and a couple other of our friends, I believe Rob Garrison was there, James McConaughey, my brother, and maybe someone else. I think Todd Falk, actually. And we ended up just moving. We didn't talk about how much it was going to cost or anything. But at the end of the day, I'll never forget, we were sitting on the balcony overlooking Los Isos Valley Road, right at the Sunny Acres Ranch, kind of looking over that. It was one of those homes that was on the border. And the client Megan's mom cooked us a steak, gave us $50 in cash, and just expressed so much appreciation for everything we did for her. And then that's when it really clicked. I was like, oh man, we can do this. Like, this is great. I get paid to work out, get fed, make good money, and then be really appreciated for what we were doing and the effort that we're extending, and at that stage of my life, that was something that I needed a lot of, and I found it through moving.
Yeah.
So
that was the kind of spark that kicked it off.
Yes.
And then did you just do it again? You found somebody else that needed it as well?
So excuse me, I was the team captain of the wrestling team, so I just went to all the friends' parents and just was talking to them about that. We've done to wrestling. Hey, if you ever need anything done around the house, if you ever need any heavy lifting, or if there's anything you don't want to do, moving, let me know. And what is so great about this community, people are so open, people are so generous, people want to help people who want to help themselves. I think especially if you're younger. I certainly experienced that and benefited from it. And every now and then I get a few calls, and then we started for $1,000, or sorry, for $10 you can get 1,000 business cards at Staples. Then started handing those out at Farmers Market and the San Luis High School football games, and after our dual meets and at the gymnasium, and
what did those have on them? Like what?
So it had the stock logo guy of just a delivery man with a dolly and a box. It was black and white. It said Meathead Moving Service, and then the phone number went to my pager number.
Nice.
Yeah. So then I'd call people like in between class on a pay phone.
Yeah.
Sometimes have to bum a quarter. And then the pitch was simple, like, hey, pay us whatever you think we're worth. We're, a bunch of local athletes. Most of us are wrestlers and football players, and we'll get the job done right. And if we don't, you don't have to pay us anything. And, it worked. It's kind of hard to say no to that. And what's cool is like we extended trust first to the clients, and I think they dug that. And the deal was they'd have to rent the truck.
Yeah.
And if one of us had a car, we'd meet them there, or the client would actually have to pick us up at our parents' house and take us to their home. And so it went, and I loved it because, like the paper, you get to set your own schedule.
Yeah.
And it just was. I felt that it was like helping my wrestling because it's squeezing, you're lifting, and then like with the tie up or like Greco-Roman, like it goes hand in hand with that because you're constantly, flexing and lifting and squeezing and grip strength and everything. Like moving is awesome for wrestling.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Did you have to take time off of this, or like while you were competing and stuff? Like how did the scheduling work?
No.
School and wrestling. And
yeah. So I mean, wrestling was definitely my priority, and moving was just kind of a side hustle to help support my wrestling and my brother too, and our friends, but it was mostly like me and my brother, and then I would say when I was wrestling at Cuesta, it was, so there's like there's a little bit of tug of war, it's like, I really want to do well wrestling at the junior college level, but then Meathead Movers was taking a lot of time and energy and effort, and so school was kind of the last priority. So I was like barely making the grades, but like competing pretty good. And then the business was like slowly growing, but there wasn't a lot of time left over. And then eventually the demand for Meathead Movers started growing, where I decided to quit school. I only wrestled 1 year at Cuesta. And then that's when I got into training and competing in mixed martial arts, had some fights, and it was like perfect. I was like, great, now I get to do my business and compete in MMA and not have to do school. I love this.
That's funny.
Yeah. I still ended up taking some night classes at Cal Poly at the extended studies program because I wanted to, but going to school in the middle of the day and having to drive all the way out to Cuesta, it just wasn't I could tell, I was like, this just isn't a good use of time. Like, I don't feel like I'm getting a great return here. But the extended studies classes at Cal Poly actually were really fantastic. And I actually got a lot of value. Although I will say, and I'm not trying to criticize Cuesta. I think that's an amazing institution, and I really love my teachers, and I think they care and do a really good job too.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, I didn't have the ability to like live the student lifestyle. I was too focused on building Meathead Movers while being a student athlete and competing in MMA and doing Meathead Movers. Once I turned like 20 years old was like the right formula for me.
Yeah. So when did it start feeling like an actual business for you? Because I would guess it was pretty low key, maybe under the table for a bit, and then it must have flipped at some point. You were like, all right, let's change something about this to make it a little more legit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did that look like for you?
So that's a pretty easy question to answer. It was when the state of California, the governing board that manages moving companies or oversees them, called the Public Utilities Commission. It's when they turned off our phone lines.
Okay.
All of a sudden, and this was like 2000, when you went to the phone book to call Meathead Movers, you got a disconnected signal.
Okay.
And it was because our competitors teamed up and said, hey, these are illegal movers. They're not operating legally. They don't have their license. And it's just like, hey, we're just a student labor service, you know? And that at that point, I think I had like 30, 40 of my friends working for me. And we were, helping a couple customers every single day. And at that point in time, I had also heard over and over and over how terrible my competitors were and how they hire shady people and how they bait and switch on pricing and how they break things and don't care. And at that point, I was just, I was furious because this was my livelihood. This was, I had a taste of success. I took a lot of pride in providing jobs, and I was building a brand, and it was intoxicating for me. And I was proud of the service that we were providing. So it was at that moment when I decided to make Meathead Movers our primary focus and to do what I needed to do to get the license to be a professional moving company. Even though I still don't think I needed to, because I was just a labor service. We weren't transporting goods on public roads, which is what warrants a license to operate. But you couldn't negotiate with them because they were just too big of a bureaucracy,
Yeah.
So we did all kinds of things and jumped through all kinds of hoops, and eventually we were able to save enough money to collateralize an insurance policy for the workers' comp that we needed. And then my brother took the test shortly after he graduated from high school, and we got the license to become professional movers. And then I was just, hell-bent on a mission to punish the competitors that did that to us.
Yeah.
And to grow the moving business and do it in a way that was authentic to us. And we're still the same, athletes, jogging when not carrying anything, putting the customers first, and doing things in the community to help those in need. And it's going to be 30 years this January, which is just crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Jeez. And you were 17?
17 is when I started. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that is pretty wild. You don't even look that old. I can't even put it together.
Well, it's the jiu-jitsu.
And it goes both ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah, everything's broken on me, but exactly. I got great skin because I sweat so much.
Yeah, it was funny because when we had Brad on the podcast, and I created a short and we zoomed in on him, and he's like, "Oh, don't show that ear on the podcast," So it's just so funny. All the jiu-jitsu guys, we're all like, we all look pretty good, but we're all just broken in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on with your arm? Is that
torn ligament, jiu-jitsu?
Okay.
Thanks, Matt Honorud.
Shout out
to Matt Honorud. Or maybe it was Donnie Miller. I don't know. It was one of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like almost every time I see you, you have a different injury now. You had the torn bicep at one point,
I tore both of them within the past 3 years, yeah.
And then some kind of shoulder thing too, or
no?
no?
Shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
How's that is it all on the same side?
No.
Okay.
No, it's evenly distributed amongst them.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
Actually,
but it's still worth it though.
Yeah.
It's still worth it. I meet my healthcare deductible every year, so
That's perfect.
I got all this orthopedic surgeons text numbers, so we're good.
Yeah. So let's go back to the MMA stuff. So how did that start coming about when I guess you were wrestling at Cuesta and then you were looking for another outlet for some kind of continuation of wrestling and martial arts? Like how did you fall into the MMA?
Well, so it's actually kind of wild. You know the name Jake Shields?
Yeah.
All right. So he was my training partner and roommate for a brief period of time at Cuesta, and we couldn't get into Cuesta. And then one of our friends said, "Oh, well, Slow Kickboxing, which they have mats there. Let's go into there." So we went into there, and there was a jiu-jitsu class. And then we asked if we could, train, and they're like, yeah, just kind of go off to the corner. So we were doing takedowns and we were watching submission and, all the guys, rolling on the mats, and they were looking at us, we were looking at them. And then we got their schedule because it was just cool having another place with mats that were available at the times that we wanted to train because they were open until 9:00 at night. And then Scott Adams was working it. Chuck Liddell was an owner in it. And I actually had known Chuck because he was really good friends with my cousin Jamie growing up. And Chuck actually did some moving jobs with us, like in the past before he was super famous, just, wrestling at Cuesta, because I used to wrestle with the Cal Poly guys when I was in high school and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like, wow, this place is really, really cool, So, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, but I was so focused on wrestling. I was just like, yeah, that's kind of for them, this, that, and the other. Then Cruz Gomez was like, hey, will you help me with the takedowns and I'll show you some submissions. And he's now running the pit up in Oregon. He's a great guy. Long story short, we just started training there and then kind of showing each other some things. And then some of the guys had some fights in Jackson, California, at one of the Indian casinos. This is back when it was illegal. And I was just watching these guys I've been training with, who I've been, showing takedowns to, who've been showing me how to do some submissions, just kind of like for fun, watching them fight. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I was like, this is amazing. And I could totally do this, and I loved everything about it. I loved the drama. I loved the walkouts. I loved how much like adrenaline and how intense it was, whereas like wrestling is, it feels like you're wrestling in a library sometimes. There's hardly anyone there. It's so hard, but like the sport gets like, it's so underappreciated, whereas like in mixed martial arts, you're fighting in front of hundreds or thousands of peoples, and there's, fireworks and loud music, and you only have to do one. It's not like a tournament where it's just a grind because you have to do like all day. I was just like, this is awesome. I could totally do this. So then when I and that was one of the reasons that helped me decide to just focus on mixed martial arts as opposed to going to school and wrestling, is because hey, I could still be competitive. I still had that desire and itch to compete, but at that point, wrestling was, and this is early 2000s. If you were a good wrestler, like you could dominate most mixed martial arts matches. So I just really leaned into that. And if you like look on YouTube, you can see I just take them down, grind it out, every time. Yeah. The one time I tried standing at this fight in Temecula at that casino there, I ended up getting like punched and got 9 stitches. So so I was just like, all right, let's stick to the game plan. Boom, take him down, pound it out. Yeah. And it was awesome. It was exhilarating, and it feels like electricity's like going through your veins, It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have 3 professional fights, or?
I had 3 professional fights and a bunch of amateur ones, but yeah, the 3 professional fights. Yeah.
How long did that go for?
Like, how long was I competing for?
How long were you competing for? Yeah.
Oh, just 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So from 20 to 22.
And then why did you stop?
because again, something just kind of had to give.
Yeah.
You know, at that point, when I was 22, Meathead Movers really grew, and then we had some really big challenges too that required my full-time effort, and I also saw that that's also when like Chuck started getting really big, and then we had some guys who were coming in, you know, Cost Check and Tito Ortiz and Glover Teixeira and Tim Kennedy, like guys who are coming into the gym and training a lot. And I could see if I were to try to hang with those sort of guys, it's going to take a whole new level of commitment. You know, it's going to take a whole new reprioritization, you know, of my life, which I wasn't willing to do, because I saw more value and opportunity long term doing the Meathead Mover thing, you know, and I didn't want to leave opportunity on the table with that, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So from there to, I guess, like later on, did you keep doing jiu-jitsu or any type of grappling, or did you just cut it off and then come back to it?
So after I stopped training MMA, I basically like kind of stopped working out, you know, and so dumb. Like I thought that I had worked out enough in my life to where like it would just kind of like carry me forward. So
yeah,
if you like look at pictures of me like 9 years ago, I was super fat. I was like 50 pounds heavier than I am now, you know. I was weighing 255 pounds, and it was just
bulking season.
Yeah, no, exactly. I just kept, but no, didn't do any jiu-jitsu. But it was funny because Chris Lovato used to train at Slow Kickboxing too. Back in the day, we actually fought on the same card together once or twice. I forgot, but and I heard that he opened up a jiu-jitsu school, and I was just like, oh, you know, I'll go ahead and check it out because Chris is doing it. I put on the gi, and I hated it. I was just like, this is the worst. I hate the gi. You know, it just slowed me down. I was hot. Like it was totally against, you know, because I was so used to wrestling, you know, or just like shorts with no shirt on for MMA. And so I think I was like one of his top first 10 signups at Paragon, and then yeah,
gave it up.
And then I gave it up, and then it wasn't until 2018. Late 2018 until I started back up again.
Okay. That's funny because Chris Williams credits you with bringing him to jiu-jitsu.
Oh, that's sweet.
For the first time.
Yeah.
So I was interested in how you kind of came back around to it. And he's very technical for he just spends all day watching tutorials, man. He's wild. So
he's getting good.
He is.
He's got an awesome style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's wild, man. Yeah. So I think that's really interesting, actually. So you took all that time off, and then you came back to it. And what did it feel like stepping back on the mats after all that time? Like, did you feel confident because you had some wrestling still? You were like, I can still do this.
Yeah. So, Larry Nash.
Yeah.
Larry Nash. Larry Nash and I are in the same friend group, you know, and when I got divorced, I saw Larry, and he was just like, "Hey, you should try, you know, you should try jiu-jitsu." And I was just like, "Oh, I don't know, man. I hate the gi." He's like, "Hey, well, you don't know." And Larry was a good wrestler, you know, back in the day. He was just like, what you'll realize is the gi is a weapon. Once you understand it, like the gi is a weapon. The gi is your friend. You just got to know and understand it. He's like, especially now that you're older, he's just like, trust me. I was like, I hate the gi. Last time I did the gi, no, spit on the gi. And he's like, I'll tell you what, we'll take the gi off. Let me just bring you into Paragon, and we can do gi and then not the gi, and we can wrestle. We can do jiu-jitsu, like whatever you want. And basically, like, Larry just smashed me, you know, and that got me like respecting it. I was just like, oh man, you know, what I was able to do in my mind, or, you know, a long time ago, is very different than like where I'm at right now, and where and where Larry's at, you know,
Yeah.
because Larry and I was just like, okay, this is I got a good challenge ahead of me. I'm gonna like tap back into this. And I love Larry, you know, and I said, hey, if I commit to this, will you coach me up? He said, yeah. And man, Larry's been an amazing friend, an amazing mentor in jiu-jitsu, you know, and he has spent like countless hours. He's been to like just about every single tournament I've competed in and has traveled. And I mean, he's taken me to Brazil twice, you know, and I told him, I was like, hey, if you train me up, I'll totally commit to this. He was like, all right, let's go ahead and do that. So we had that conversation right after he kicked my ass for about an hour and a half, and I'm glad that he did. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the because you, if I understand correctly, you competed at like World's Masters in the blue belt, purple belt, or
Yeah, blue belt, purple belt.
and then you did the brown belt last year? Or you didn't?
I haven't competed at brown belt yet because I took the year off for competing to focus on the EEOC.
Yeah.
But yeah, LA Open. I did the Pan Ams twice or three times, and then competed in the national American Nationals for IBJJF. Competed the U.S. Open, and then a bunch of other like little tournaments. You know, like the LA Open and stuff like that. So yeah,
It's cool, man.
yeah.
Yeah, when you were kind of like in this period of, I guess, let's call it between MMA stuff, you're still doing Meathead this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
What are like some of the key moments that I think defined? I feel like there's in any business, any person's life, they have these like defining moments that I guess are the most challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of your lowest lows. Can you tell us
Yeah.
about that?
Oh geez, I mean, so many.
Yeah.
So many. I feel like I've had a lot of adversity and struggles, you know, in my life, but I don't resent them every single time. It's turned out to be a blessing, you know. So I trust the process now more than ever. But we almost have lost Meathead Movers on like 4 different occasions, you know, where it was like justifiable. Okay, let's call it, you know.
Jeez.
But one of which our phone lines being turned off, you know. But we decided no, and we pivoted and we started heavily aggressively advertising in other newspapers and to change the phone number, you know, so people could get a hold of us in a different way. This was before the internet. So like you went to the phone book and we weren't there, but if you go to the newspaper, we were, you know.
Yeah.
Other challenges was the workers' comp crisis, where our labor payroll percentage went from, it went up 8 times, you know. So if I were to pay you $10 an hour, I would have to pay workers' comp $8, you know, and it just decimated my margins. I had 13 administrative employees. I had to lay off 8 of them, many of which were my best friends, people that helped me build the company. I remember like crying, explaining to them like, hey, I just can't help you anymore. One of them, I gave a truck. I can't help you. I can't pay you anymore, but I'll give you this truck. And fortunately, you know, they understood, even though it was really difficult at the time. 2008, you know, crisis was really tough.
Yeah.
And then most recently, this battle with the EEOC. I mean, that was a doozy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's we've gotten really good at suffering, but it's all worth it. And then when you zoom out, like it's all for you, you know.
Yeah.
I remember when the EEOC hit, that was the biggest challenge. The bank was kicking me out. I was going through a buy-sell with my brother.
Yeah.
And this, and then of course the feds were looking to shut us down, you know. And I remember talking to Brad one time, and I've been getting advice from Brad for decades now. And he was just like, hey man, this isn't happening to you, it's happening for you, you know. And I think there's some, you know, you wheeled in faith in there. It's all kind of interconnected. And I really do believe that, you know, God's in control, God is good. And even though we can't understand things in the moment, if you keep showing up, you keep trying to do the right thing, like it's all for you one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how many moments there are where there's just this like panic that sets in, and maybe you've been through some really tough stuff before that was very similar, but
Yeah.
it's so hard to tell yourself that like you're gonna get through this thing.
Yeah, it is, but I'll tell you, like, as you do it, as you get older, I think it becomes easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I put out a poll on Instagram to try to get people to submit their questions for you.
Oh, you did?
And a couple of them were kind of silly.
All right.
I'll put those out there too. But
Sure.
Martin was asking if there were any times that you felt like giving up on your kind of journey. Did you ever like was there ever a time where you were like, I don't know if this is really the juice is worth the squeeze, or I mean, I guess like all those times you mentioned were rough, but did you feel like any of them forced you to think about throwing in the towel, or
No,
no?
no. I mean, honestly, the short answer is no. That there were times when my EEOC attorney, I'll never forget, we were driving up to Lake Tahoe, and I had him on speaker, and I think we're like pulling off to a gas station, and he said, I really think you should file for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And this is someone who I paid a lot of money to, who I trust, who I really respect, advising me that it's our time to fold shop. And I burst into tears, like uncontrollably. And then my wife burst into tears, sitting right next to me. And he was like, whoa, didn't expect that. And I'm just like, I don't think you understand what you just said. He was like, I said, let me call you back. Let me get my shit together. And it's more than just dollars and cents. This is my life's work. This is something that I think is important. This business is something that's worth sacrificing for. And I'm not going to hedge my bets. I'm going to see this through, and making it past the EEOC was a decision. We decided we were going to survive this. We decided we're going to find a way, and we did.
Yeah.
And the credit belongs to a lot of people, not just me. A lot of people is what made that possible. But what's cool is like when you decide you're going to do something, not like half-ass leave your options open, like always assessing like what else, like when you decide you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And other people like see it and they don't just hear it, it motivates them. And a lot of people stepped up in a lot of ways to help me and to help the business out, including my employees, including some key people in my life who've lent me money, who've given me advice, who've opened up certain opportunities. Like it just goes on and on. I'm so blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's if I didn't care, if I didn't think it was important, it definitely made like economic sense to, if you look at the odds, and probabilities, it probably made sense to like do something else, but that's just not what we did.
Yeah. Can you give just for people who don't understand what this situation was, who haven't listened to the last 5 podcasts of yours like I have?
Sure. So in 2017, we get a letter from the EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, saying, hey, we're going to investigate you for age discrimination. So my attorneys and I said, yep, that's fine. Great. Come on in. We have nothing to hide. We're an above board business. We do everything, legal. So they came in, they did their investigation, wasn't worried about it. Attorneys weren't worried about it. And then they sent us a letter saying you owe us $15 million. And that was a shocking thing. So then over the course of many years, we then have, 4 failed mediations where they're in essence trying to get us to agree to go out of business to pay for a dollar amount that we couldn't afford. And then after this like standstill loggerhead type situation, they eventually file a lawsuit against Meathead Movers. A federal lawsuit was filed against Meathead Movers. and from the federal government, and it was it was absolutely shocking. It turned in the Wall Street Journal read about it and um, contacted me, and then that led to a media firestorm. There's over 150 published articles about it. Went on 3 national news broadcasts, and it became it for all the lawsuits that were filed in the by the EEOC that year. This was the most talked about one because of the absurdity of it. What was so interesting is no one raised their hand and said they were discriminated against. This was an agency initiated lawsuit.
Yeah.
This is someone, the agency initiated this lawsuit, and it was confusing as to why, because it's always been about, can you do the job or not? We don't, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to fight is like, hey, we don't care what you look like, what gender you are, how old you are. It's all about like, can you move heavy boxes and furniture and then jog back to get more, all while maintaining a happy, upbeat, enthusiastic attitude. And the EEOC just had this idea that no, we were like intentionally discriminated against people under the age of 40, even though we don't even ask for their age on the job application. So long story short, the lawsuit creates like a ripple effect within my organization. The bank is calling the loans. My brother wants to sell his shares in the business. We're already in a very difficult housing market. There's historically low home transactions. And then I had to hire, the King Kong attorneys in order to, fight off the feds. And then after a lot of back and forth, we end up getting some help from this administration, and they asked for there to be a meeting in Washington, D.C. with the heads of the agency. And in that meeting, we were able to find some consensus and a path towards resolution, which is all protected under a mediated settlement. But finally, there is a resolution that allowed for Meathead Movers to survive, and without us having to, change operationally. They just want to come in and confirm that we are in fact doing everything above board. So we're working with a monitor in order to do it. And I agreed to do it, and the monitor is great, and we're moving on, we're moving forward. And then the money that they wanted is less than what it would have cost to fight. And that I think at that point, we're both able to move on, and I was able to establish some trust with the folks on the other side, and we live to talk about it today. But it was an 8-year legal battle, millions of dollars spent, just decimated the value of Meathead Movers, and it also really hindered our growth and my focus. I moved my office out of my office because I didn't want the negative energy to be around my employees. I knew in order for us to survive this, we had to continue to run Meathead Movers, and everything that is, and the hundreds of employees, and all the everything that we're doing. But so I tried to take it on so they could continue to focus on the business, and they did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. That's a lot to go through.
Crazy, man. It was wild. I can go on and on. Like it was really absurdly contentious, and it still doesn't make any sense to me as to why it happens. But there were beautiful blessings in it too. So many people stepped up to help us out, and I felt like we actually got a lot of business too, because people felt sorry for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, everyone I've talked to for years have wanted to tell me about their story of government overreach, or the time that they felt that they couldn't. Yeah, it's just wow.
Yeah, like an underdog story for all the people that probably got shut down. There's probably a very small percentage of people that have won those type of cases, or at least come out without having to shut down.
Yeah. Well,
right.
we were the position I was in was we were either going to quietly die, or we had to bring as much light, as much attention, and be as loud and as vocal as possible in opposition to our own federal government, which really hurt me because I'm a patriot. I love this country. I am grateful to be an American. Meathead Movers wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the SBA. If I wasn't so focused, I very well could have seen myself enlisting in the military right out of high school if I didn't have Meathead Movers and college wrestling career.
Yeah.
All those sort of things. So, yeah, it was heartbreaking. But at the end of the day, like if someone's trying to take away your livelihood, you got a family to support, and if you take it seriously, having hundreds of families depend on you, you do it. You do whatever you have to do, even if the adversary is the federal government.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's funny because I think the culture of companies today is like scale to a point, sell your company, take the payout, move on to the next thing. It doesn't seem like that's as much where you've, at least up to this point, wanted to be. Like it seems like you really have this passion to keep growing this and continue it and maybe leave some type of legacy behind.
Yeah.
So I think like I feel like there's a lot of there for all of the businesses out there, the ones that are doing this very physical type of thing, in this medium space, it's really hard to be a business and get started and then keep that thing going for a long time and stuff.
Yeah.
So, what would you say, like, are there any kind of, I don't know, like words of wisdom or habits that you live by that you think that other people on that path could maybe learn from? Or
yeah, I think you really have to find something that you love, and you really have to find something that you think is important. I think you have to find a career path that is worth suffering for. And the reason is because if you do anything for any extended period of time, there's going to be a dark season. There are going to be storms. There are going to be hills that need to get climbed. You're going to get attacked. The more successful you are, the more of a target you're going to have on your back. And when you go through those difficult times, it has to be worth it. Like you have to be willing to suffer for what you want. And I think just making money isn't enough because there's always going to be a new trend and a new this and a new that to make money.
Yeah.
You could jump on the AI train, and then before that, you could jump on the marijuana train. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then before that, you could jump on like whatever train is hot at the moment is going to look appealing. And if you're just looking money, if you're just looking to make money, but if you're just looking to make money, then you're not going to have most likely be doing what you're doing for long enough to really get the fruits of the labor. So, and I'm sure there's exceptions for, what I'm saying. I'm just speaking from my experience. That's what's kept me engaged for the past 29 years is I'm willing to suffer for this thing. And then the net result is I'm really proud of what we've built. I'm really proud of who we are, and I'm really proud of the opportunities we provide to others. And where we're going. And you're right. Like I'm not like planning my exit right now. I just like delete the emails of people wanting to talk to me about those sort of things because we still got a long ways to go. And also I think business is a worthwhile journey. You really have your values tested. You really are forced to improve as a human as far as like how you communicate, how you lead. And it's endlessly fascinating because there's so many different ways people go about their business. It's always changing. And I think really the people who care most are the ones who end up winning. If you really care about your customers, they're going to feel it.
Yeah.
If you really care about your employees, they're going to feel it. If you really care about doing well and being successful, you're going to decide and you're going to do what's necessary in order to get it. It's not that complicated. What is complicated, I think what is hard is like, I want to be really successful, but not work really hard. I want to make a lot of money, but not like blood, sweat, and tear it. Well, good luck with that, know? Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been rough, man. Like going from like the early days of trying to keep Meathead afloat and doing stuff to at least get to where you're at now, like, would you say, I feel like people say entrepreneurship is a young man's game because you can just grind. Like, you don't have to worry about a family or, providing for anybody but yourself, and you can move around and you can take less money and live off of cardboard pizza and stuff. Do you think that, do you agree with that? Do you think that, like, you were in a good place to be younger, to be doing that than now, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, let me make sure I understand your question. Am I in a better place then versus now?
Yeah, like, if you were to do it today,
Yeah.
like, knowing, like, all of the stuff that you would have
Yeah.
to go through,
Yeah.
like, how would that process have to change? Like,
No, there's pros and cons to everything. I mean, number one, anyone who's young thinking about starting a business, do it. There's way less risk of doing when you're young, because even if you flop, it's like, what are you really losing? Not much. You get to just start over. Then you get the benefit from all those experiences. Plus, there is a phenomenon of young people who want to help themselves. If you ask for help, older, more successful people want to help young people who want to help themselves. If your ego will tolerate, like, the ability to kind of ask for help. And then as you get older, you have more relationships, access to more capital. If you've lived your life right and you have a good reputation and people trust you over many years of experiences of knowing with you, it is incredibly powerful what you can achieve by just having a high level of character. So so I think there's pros and cons to everything. And granted, I definitely have 46. I don't have the energy that I did when I was in my teenager, like young 20s, and I got a family, so it's different. But fortunately, right now I'm able to delegate to very talented people who do their jobs better than I can do it. I'm not afraid to hire people who are smarter than me, in certain areas. And my job now is more about, defining what the vision is, helping guide the principles that form the decisions, adding my experiences to situations, setting goals and helping people accomplish them.
Yeah.
And it's fun, and it actually is energizing, to do it. I love that. And the next step for our company is to offer the ability for the branch offices, the heads of the branch offices that we're calling general managers, who are on a profit sharing plan, to buy into each of their respective branches.
That's cool.
So each of our branches are going to turn into their own LLC, and I'm going to become business partners with each of these branch operators, and I'm going to allow them to buy into each office up to 40%, where it's going to be meaningful, for them. And I get to continue to be involved and to help them on this level, as opposed to a typical employer-employee type relationship. And my belief is I'll be able to scale Meathead Movers even larger and hopefully make a lot of millionaires along the way, Yeah, but they're going to have to put in the work and make it happen. And I'm going to be there to support them, and we're going to, win or lose together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, after all the kind of controversial stuff went down and you kind of suffered through all the EEOC stuff, you said your brother sold his shares or equity in the company?
Mm-hmm.
How did that feel? Like, you guys were kind of like, you started the company together.
Mm-hmm.
Was that hard to go through, or?
Oh yeah, no, it was absolutely heartbreaking, for sure. It's a long story. I wish my brother well, and I hope he finds happiness and peace in, whatever he's doing. It's personal and business, related. But that falling out absolutely broke my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet, man.
Yeah.
Do you think that, I mean, now that you guys have put that in the past,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like you're pretty optimistic. You kind of like looking over your shoulder, waiting for the next thing to happen. Like, I feel like every time things are going good in my life, at least, I'm like treading lightly,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the kind of the future of Meathead outside of, I mean, what you just shared? It sounds like things are going pretty well.
Yeah.
You guys just opened a new branch or a new store?
Yeah. So far this year, we've opened up 2 new offices.
Okay.
And we got another one on the way. So we opened up the East Bay, in Hayward, California, and then we opened up one in northern San Diego, in Vista, California. And we're going to do another one at the end of this year. So no, I'm very excited. I think our best days are ahead at Meathead Movers, and yeah, I'm super optimistic. And then as far as your other question, I really believe like when times are good, don't get too high. And when times are low, don't get too low. I don't want to like kind of sabotage myself or like take joy away from joyful, situations, but you just gotta realize, life is as short as it may seem at times, it is kind of a long road. And if you just react off of emotion, it's going to be like a ping pong ball. Just know you're going to, and whatever is in front of you isn't exactly what is either. So many things happening. Like today, I think we have 45 moving jobs going on. And I mean, there could have been fatal accident happening right now that I'm not aware of. But at the moment, I feel really great. I'm talking to one of my friends, sharing the story in Meathead, like, but so it's like you just never know what's like actually happening, but it's up to us to try to like live in the moment and do as well as we can with what we have, and try to find as much like peace and happiness. And that sounds so hippie, but like honestly, like just try to find good, positive, interactions and a good, clear, stable state of mind in our dealings and with ourself.
Yeah. Do you like give me the the day in the life of Aaron Steed? Do you do like anything that's kind of outside the norm that you think kind of keeps you going? Any habits that you have that are maybe something that you couldn't live without doing, or you know what I mean, keep you on track?
Yeah. I mean, I could live without it, but just not nearly as well. I have a pretty regimented, morning routine that this has unfortunately impacted recently, and but sauna, cold plunge, I like to read the Bible. I like to meditate. I like to journal. So I get up early, do those things.
Do you do all of them every day?
No.
Okay.
No. Journal once a week. Try to hit the Bible, 3-4 times a week. Cold plunge, sauna 3 times a week, but it's regimented. It's in the calendar.
Yeah.
Meditate twice a week. So, and I like the book Atomic Habits has totally changed my life. Shout out to Mallory Lovato for buying me that book. We did a book club of that book, Atomic Habits, at Meathead, where you just try to like automate best practices within your life. So you wake up, you know exactly what you're going to do.
Yeah. I
I operate way better, with that sort of structure. And I think, for me, physical fitness is super key. I weightlift, 2-3 times a week. I do Jiu-Jitsu 5 times a week, and then usually get some cardio in or some yoga as well. So that for me is, super important. Yeah.
Yeah. How about like the balance between like your family life too? Do you find that to be difficult at all, or is everything kind of like you've got your schedule, you're gonna carve out X amount of time for family?
Yeah. It's I would say families is totally intertwined in all of that. The key is, I mean, find the right partner. You got to find the right partner, and fortunately, I got it right this time. But being my wife brings so much peace. She's like the heartbeat of the household. Like the spirit of our house kind of reflects her energy, a lot. and we're all better off for it. And I would say when I am with family, and I'm not perfect at this, but I do try to, be off my phone as much as possible. Sometimes I slip like on the weekends when I'm around the house a lot more, just try to be as present as possibly can, be helpful, with the chores, be helpful with, Brody, try to carry your own weight. I know she really appreciates it, and the happier she is, the happier everyone else is. None of this is that profound. I think it's just a matter of like showing up, and one thing that's so nice about like working out a lot is I feel better. So I can, I have more energy. I want to do better. I want to eat better food. I want to drink less alcohol, but when I'm not working out, it has the inverse effect. So I think just staying focused on your performance like at work, but like the same like for the home too.
Yeah.
And showing up there because arguably that's it's just it's more important,
Yeah.
but a lot of times and the mindset I used to have is like, oh, home is just to relax and recharge and do the least amount of possible. But no, I want to show up for my household, same as like I show up for work, and if you look at it in that way, I think it makes it easier. Now, as far as like relaxing and recharging, for me, going to bed earlier is like really important. It's funny, I'm on some group text threads, and a lot of times I wake up and everyone's talking, throughout late at night, and then I'll start texting everyone at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to go on vacation. All my executive team has unlimited vacation, and I really think that my vacation is time, and I vacation a pretty good amount. Like really, real. That's where I get my R&R. That's where I'm able to like just really recharge.
Yeah.
And it helps. It really, really helps. Yeah, I don't view it as a luxury. I view it kind of like as a necessity. I need to like kind of step away. And I've been criticized like, oh, why can't you incorporate that into your like regular day-to-day life? I'm like, I am hard charging at work and I'm hard charging at the house, you know? So I think we all just got to kind of find what works for us. And there isn't a one size fits all.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I hear people talk a lot about like work-life balance, but then on the flip side of that, you have the whole like, to be very successful, you have to be a little unbalanced for a time or at a thing.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to tip the scale in one direction for a time and then hopefully tip it back at another time. Right. So that you can balance all of these things. And I think that's probably one of the keys to burnout for people. I feel like they forget to tip it back.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the other thing that probably helps a lot with that is like a lot of people, especially like my age, a lot of people younger, they struggle with like this whole passion versus purpose thing. Like they really want to find their purpose in life.
Yeah.
They really want to have this passion that they are obsessed with, be their work that they can make money from.
Yeah.
And I think that there's some things that you've already talked about that fit into that category. One of the things that Brad mentioned was he said you should try to get Aaron to talk more about like the extent of his giving and the things that he gives back to the community. Could you fill me in a little bit there?
So, okay, that's a really good point. So I got into moving not to give back, but to make money and to make a living, and because it fit like my work schedule and the fact I like to work out.
Yeah.
But what even in moving, like you think about moving company, like who gives a shit, right? Like it's not a big deal. Like it's a it's a very, very grunty type job. But with that, we've been able to make really big, meaningful changes. I think if I were to have to start over or give advice, I would say like look for a problem, look for something that is worth a lot to people. Like try to find a problem that you can fix, and then and then find a way that you can give back within it. So with moving, we would the thing that we do the most, I'm the most proud of, is is helping victims of domestic violence move out of their homes for free. That's what we do. We have 10 shelter partnerships throughout California, and the deal is, anytime someone's looking to flee an abusive relationship, let us know. That the shelter takes care of it. They'll make sure it's legitimate, give them their ancillary services, counseling and housing. And then Meathead Movers will show up and make sure it's a safe situation, make sure there's a police officer or someone on site, and we'll do the moving and do it for free. We do hundreds of these moves a year. It's like, I really feel like we're saving lives doing it. And it's not something that we planned on. It's like something that I would get phone calls early on, and when I could hear the trembling in their voice, and women needing to leave their abusive relationship, and they asked for our help, and they would offer us like TVs and couches to help them out, and we would just go ahead and do it. And then eventually, as every couple months, we'd get another one of these calls, and then one time the guy actually came home and it got contentious, and the cops were called, and everything ended up smoothing out. But I realized, like, hey, one, we need to keep doing these sort of moves because it's pretty prevalent with domestic violence, and then two, we need to do it in a way that is safe for our movers and safe for the victims of domestic violence. So that's where the shelter thing came about. We solidified our partnership with the San Francisco Women's Shelter, which is now called Lumina, in 2001. And it's really cool because it's just like organically like turned into this thing that Meathead Movers stands for. The last sentence of our mission statement is to help victims of domestic violence with a fresh start in life. All of our employees have to memorize and recite the mission statement. And when someone is looking to flee an abusive relationship through one of our 10 shelter partners, they contact our our call center, and we handle it just like any other job. We give them the same level of respect we give a paying client. Our salespeople are handling it. The movers are actually putting their hands on the items, like moving everything these people have in their homes, like literally getting them out of an unsafe situation into a safe one. Our accounting's, figuring out what they need to figure out and paying people like it's an all hands on effort to like help these people in our community through a very vulnerable time.
Yeah.
And we're able to do that, through moving, and that's freaking cool. Like I can't concoct anything else that we could do that's like more valuable, and then like whenever there's a natural disaster, whether it be like floods or most recently the Palisade fires, what we do is we find a nonprofit who is collecting items to distribute to the people in need in those affected areas. And then we do a public service announcement through the media of like, hey, if you go to Target or Walmart or Home Depot or Costco and you buy these things and put in our truck, we'll then drive it down to the disaster area and deliver it to this nonprofit who is then going to get it directly to the people in need. Like no overhead, no bullshit. People in the community are able to like buy things, give it to us, we take it down there, and it gets distributed, as opposed to not knowing where your money's going if it goes to, one of these like other, I don't want to name their names, but like other nonprofits, where all they want is money.
Yeah.
And it feels really good. And so we created the hashtag Fill Those Trucks. And I think we've done like 12 or 13, I don't even know, like of these drives that become really, really impactful and allows us to interact with the community in a really beautiful way. And it's just like awesome, and I'm really proud of it. Like, and it feels really good. And it's like, what, we're the good guys. Like we're doing good here. Like, and also like people in the community are doing good, and we're helping facilitate that. And at the end of the day, it's just like about helping people. If you can figure out something, if you can figure out a business that like truly helps people, it's I think you're going to be successful, and I think you're going to feel good doing it, and I think you're going to be willing to suffer for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've heard somebody say, I don't know if it was Jane Goodall or somebody like that, was saying, like, if you struggle with purpose, you should, the saying out there is, think globally, act locally, or something like that. But I think she was saying you should flip it and start with the act locally. Like do something in your community for someone else.
Yeah.
And eventually it might turn into something that you find more purpose in, or you can turn into a job of some type, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's like such a tangible thing to just go out there and try to help somebody, right? Like you said, find a problem, especially if it's a problem you care a lot about. And I mean, no wonder people have such a hard time finding purpose, because I totally understand. Everybody gets a job. If they're struggling financially, they need to put food on the table,
right,
in some capacity. But I think there is a time at which hopefully you reach financial security, and then you would want to reassess, like, what am I doing?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's it. I think I think people need to find a way to make money. I think you need to figure out a way to make money. If you're going to work, like, try to make as much money as you possibly can. But then whatever it is that you're doing, then think, okay, how can I then do good with my position? You're a financial advisor, boom, help people who are financially illiterate. It creates some classes or a curriculum, or donate 2 hours a day to have a free seminar to, like, people in need.
Yeah.
You own a contracting business. How about once a quarter you donate a day and allow people to submit, like, people who are financially disadvantaged, where you can go in and help them help their house that is, like, falling apart, like, if you're a dog sitter, why don't you offer some free dog sitting lessons for, struggling single mothers, so they can go and work, but their family can still have a dog.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter what you do. But if you find something that you're good at, that you can make a good living at, great, go ahead and do that. And then, like you said, reassess and think about how you can give back with it. Like, that's the whole point of this human existence, is to try to love others, and do the right thing. And then it's going to bring so much more meaning and benefit you in a lot of other tangential ways. And I think if we're all really honest, like, there have been a lot of people that have helped both of us, and probably everyone listening in our own life too. So yeah, you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the terms I hate is self-made. I hate when people say that.
Yeah, it's total bullshit.
It's the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
And I also think that, like you said, the thing that's missing for a lot of people, like, they say that there's not enough time, or that I have to work to do this thing. But like you said, you could spend 30 minutes doing something for someone else, or an hour of your day, and do it for free. Like, I haven't made a dime from this podcast. All I'm doing is trying to find people with something to share with other people, and hoping that a good story comes out of it that somebody else will align with, right? And then they'll think, I could do that.
It's awesome.
You know what I mean? Like, that thing Aaron just said, that totally applies to my life, and I could change something right now that's going to make my life better.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I hope that, that's, if there's one person who watches this, I hope that at least comes about.
Cool.
I guess I have a couple more questions for you. The first is, what would you do if not for Meathead? You ever think about that? Like,
I honestly don't. I honestly don't even waste the time. Like, it's to me, it's like, oh, well, what other wife would you want to have? Or, like, if you weren't doing jiu-jitsu, what other sport? Well, sometimes I think about that.
Yeah.
Like, what other sports will I get injured less in? But no, I honestly don't. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. I could see myself being part of, like, a venture capital firm, because I do love entrepreneurs. I do love creating value. I do love understanding how businesses work, and connecting some dots, and leveraging, my network, and trying to do things that are interesting. And I also would love to. I think I'm pretty good at, like, spotting successful ideas in people.
Yeah.
I have a knack for that. So I think so. If I were to, I probably want to be some sort of, like, venture capital type person. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Tap Brad on the shoulder. See if doesn't Brad do something like that?
Brad's incredible, man. Brad, like, everything Brad touches, like, turns to gold, and he he does in such like a cool way, you know. Yeah, Brad has really kicked ass in life, you know, in a lot of ways. And talk about someone who helps a lot of people, who's like almost so many people lean on Brad, including me, for like advice. And he has a really good heart, and has done really, really well, and has a really good head on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Totally. All right. I'm going to ask you 2 questions that came in on Instagram.
All right.
From 2 of my favorite people. So
Uh-oh.
Ethan says, what is your DNA sequence?
My
Answer that?
My DNA sequence. What does that? What does that even mean?
I don't know. Kai's question is very similar. He says, what's the best way to beat yourself in a jiu-jitsu match?
To beat me?
Yeah, well, I don't know. To beat yourself.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So to Ethan's question, my mom's Jewish, and then my dad is a mutt. So yeah. I think I'm like a little bit of everything.
Okay.
You know, I think I'm a little bit of everything. And shout out to Ethan's pit company.
Yeah, we got it right up there.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do it. Maybe we can quick shout later.
Yeah,
right?
do it. Go for it.
I look pretty good. And to beat me. So when I'm in half guard, and Donnie Miller and Matt have been doing this to me, and it's very frustrating. If you grab my pant leg that is on the bottom, it takes away my ability to stand up from bottom half. Yeah, which is basically the only defense that I have, because I can't really do anything else from the bottom. Yeah, and it's pretty frustrating. Yeah, yeah. I can see. It's funny because I've been filling in for a few classes here and there. And when you start teaching jiu-jitsu classes, you start thinking like, man, I'm about to give away all my secrets. Like, totally. Everybody's going to just destroy me. That's right, the price you got to pay, though, because that's how you keep getting better and better. Exactly. It's such a hard road. Yeah, and we also have a lot of Cuesta and Cal Poly wrestlers coming in. Dude. And they're just whooping us, like coming in, and it's forced me to be a lot less lazy. Yeah. Lately with things. I'm like, everybody else, I'm like, all right, I can kind of like ball up and roll around. These guys are just like state champion, just killers. Yeah, man. So. There's nothing harder than wrestling. Wrestling, in my experience, is harder than MMA. Yeah. Even though you're not getting punched and kicked in the head, like it's a different type of hard. The grind of a wrestler is like no one trains as hard as wrestlers. Like jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu is a cakewalk compared to wrestling, man. Yeah. Wrestling is so freaking hard. It's so freaking hard. Yeah. I always like the friends that I made wrestling, like it's so crazy. It just took a certain type of person to want to be a part of that crew. A psychopath. Yeah. Well, yeah, like I don't know if your coach did this, but our coach would do like steam room practice type of thing where they jack up the temperature to like 120 degrees and you don't leave until you just can't see your hand in front of your face. Wow. So people would have panic attacks and they would hit the mat because between the mat and like the fog, there was this much air. Wow. And so if you left the room, you were kicked off the team. Jeez. It was brutal. Yeah. We used to do this thing whenever we were driving to a wrestling tournament. He would turn the heat up as high as he possibly could. Yeah. And then the radio, the static radio stations were like, turn it up as loud as possible. And for hours, we would just hear with the heat going as hot as he possibly could. We'd call it mental toughness workout drives or something. Like, this is our mental toughness workout. Yeah, that's so crazy, man. Yeah, I remember there was a tournament. We had 3 hours, and they knew I wasn't on weight. Yeah. So they dropped me off like 3 miles from the tournament. Okay. At like 4 a.m. Okay. For me to run the last bit of it. And I was like, oh man, this is the last thing you want to do when you've been cutting all night. You haven't been drinking water. Oh yeah. It's just, I feel like wrestlers go through it, man. Yeah. And they tend to be pretty successful. Yeah. Or they go the other way and they have some crazy psychotic break. But I feel like a lot of the wrestler friends I have done pretty crazy things. Yeah. Well, it's just, you have a different threshold. Like you have a different pain tolerance, it's like, and it, Dan Gable, I know you've heard this quote, everything in life is easy compared to wrestling, and it really, really is true. It's a huge gift. If like there's one thing I want Brody, my son, to do, it's to wrestle. Like,
Yeah.
And not for like the awards or the accolades or anything like that, but just because I know he will be able to be resilient in whatever life gives to him, and what's also amazing is like, even though it's an individual sport, there's nothing that builds camaraderie with like a wrestling team. When you go through a wrestling season with someone, it is just absolutely soul unifying. Like a lot of my closest relationships today are guys I wrestled with, in high school and college, and when you wrestle or train with someone, like, where their heart's at, like, where they're at, and you get to know them on such a deep level, and yeah, it's raw. It's a raw sport.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's like one of those few things where, like you said, you give up a lot of your high school experiences, but you gain a lot more.
Dude,
You can't even describe it. It's wild.
It really is. Anyone who's wrestled or really or applied themselves to anything as much as a wrestler applies themselves to wrestling when they buy in has my respect.
Yeah, definitely, man. So, we're gonna wrap this up soon,
Sure.
but I want to see, like, because you've talked a lot on a lot of podcasts recently, and I feel like, is there anything that you haven't said on those podcasts or on this podcast that you wish somebody would have asked you, or that you want to kind of leave us with, I don't know, some advice that you think could be very helpful for others out there?
Man, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's just, had my back, has supported Meathead Movers. I want to say thank you to my employees, genuinely. I could not have gotten the company through it if it weren't for my, incredible employees. And I don't want to name names because I know there will be people that I like miss out on, but like every single one of them that's still there today, and some have left too. Like, I really appreciate, and their like fight and commitment is what I did this for too. Like, it is incredible. Incredible how people can like come together when the mission is clear, and and um and it just seemed like throughout this process, like, I've become even deeper in my faith because there's always been clarity and like enough hope. And like whenever I'd ask a question and get answered in some like in some roundabout way, and it's like I always felt like I could like see how we were going to get through it, and we did. Um and it feels really good. I mean, our customers and the community and our employees and my family, and my friends, like, it's so funny because I think from the outside in, people, they're like, oh, it must have been really hard. Wow, like, you really suffer. Like, oh, were you gonna give up? Like, those are like the common questions. But like, what I don't think people really see or understand is like how much like love and support and strength I've gotten from other people, and I feel that like I'm better off for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Definitely. I think it's so easy to discount the value of that, and I feel like some people don't see it.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I was going with the self-made comment. Is like the people who describe themselves as self-made, I feel like they had people. There was somebody, at least one person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to say you're self-made is to discount all those people who stuck their neck out for you or were there for you when you were struggling in some way.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's great, man. I think you used that question very well.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, it's true. I appreciate the thoughtful question and for having me on, and your heart and intent behind, this podcast and who you are. It's been great getting to know you better too.
Yeah, you too, man. I really feel like this has given me an opportunity to connect with you guys a lot more and on a lot deeper of a level. And it's just been awesome, dude. It's been awesome to sit down with you guys and get to know you, and don't don't not expect me to start texting you guys and asking for more of your time as my mentors.
Anytime.
So awesome, Aaron. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Making Mentors podcast. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Until next time, cheers.